Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel, Just Use Your Phone. My name is Sharon, your app guide. 3 years ago, I uploaded a video for Money Manager app, and it did really well. And now I have 100 subscribers. Thank you very much. So in honor of that, I wanted to re-upload a brand new tutorial for that app just for you guys. I'm sure they made some serious updates, and this tutorial is a little bit more comprehensive than the last one. So I'm seeing that not a lot of people are watching the intro, which is fine. You're here because you want to learn how to use this app, so I'm not going to talk too much. The app is free for the most part. You get pretty much all the features. If you pay, you get unlimited accounts, unlimited expenses, unlimited income categories, and you get to have access to the desktop version of the app as well. But everything else for this app is 100% free. It is a great app. It's very customizable. I have another video where I show you how to use the 50-30-20 method of budgeting using this app. I will come up with another video on another way that you can use this app as well. If you're using budgeting specific categories, I'm not going to get too much into it because this video is just for the tutorial. If you want to buy the app, it is $9.85 Canadian, so it's not super expensive. What you get is unlimited everything with it, and you get access to the online version. So I had a couple of questions actually about backing up your data. I did not address that simply because I think it's pretty straightforward. In the app, under more, where you would see the settings and the configurations, there is a little arrow going like this, and it says backup, and you would just select that and go through the motion of setting up where you want your information to be backed up. So without further ado, I'm going to get into the tutorial. If you like these types of tutorials, or if you have any suggestions for any other apps that you want to see a tutorial about, please leave it in the comments. I read all of the comments. Like, share, subscribe. It really helps the channel and it motivates me to keep going. So let's get right into it. So when you open the app, this is what it looks like. You have a menu at the top over here, a menu at the bottom, a plus sign, and you have other data that we'll take a look at later. But like any other tutorial, we'll start with configuring the actual app. So we're going to go down here into the More section. When we press More, we have our options over here. You can use this on your PC. I'm not going to do it in this tutorial, but it is possible. What we're going to do is we're going to configure our app. Press Configuration. This is what pops up, and we have a slew of options to customize the app to our liking. So we're just going to go in order, take a look from top to bottom, starting with the account group. When we press it, this is what pops up. Before we add anything, we see we have options. These ones can be deleted because there is a minus sign, whereas these ones cannot. These are core groups that are a staple in the app, so we cannot delete them. But we can edit them with this pen, and also we can move them around with this hamburger menu. So if we want to move one, we just grab onto one of these little hamburger menus, and we just drag it up and down. To delete, we just press the minus sign here, and a garbage can will appear, and we would just press that garbage can, and the account group is gone. To edit it, we would just press this little pencil. That's just to change the name of the account group. And to add an account group, we would just press the plus button. So account groups are just the groups for the accounts that we would use. So we would have different savings accounts. We can put them under our savings account group. If we have different investment accounts, we would put them in our investment account groups, credit cards, etc. accounts, and all of those. If I really wanted to customize this in a different way, what I would probably do is add an account group called business account group, and I would press save. I'm not going to make it the account group for credit cards or for debit cards. I would click save, and then it would pop up over here. And then any accounts that are associated with my business, which would be credit cards or anything like that, I would just put it under this account group. We're going to go back with this back button here. And we have done our account groups. Next, we'll do our account settings. And this is just where we would add our individual accounts. Under cash, obviously we just have cash. Under accounts, the default is account. Under cards, the default is card. But we want it to be very specific. If we want to add something, we would put the add button. This is a menu for more options. And this is just to see the details. So if I was to press on this arrow here for cash, it would just show me the details of this account information. But we'll look at it in depth after we add our own accounts. So going back, if we press the 3 buttons, this is where the delete. On the other page, you saw there were little minus buttons and little pencil buttons, but here it is under the menu in the top right corner. This is where you would modify or delete, or you can even show and hide the accounts that are there. So we're going to press the plus button here at the top right. And then what pops up automatically is the account groups. Remember the account groups that we just set up? They are all here, and we have to choose one to create accounts under. I'm going to choose investments, and the name of this account would be, let's say, retirement account. And the amount in my retirement account, let's say there's $1,000. And then I would write opening balance, just so that I know, and then go back, and then I would hit save. So then this pops up and it asks you the difference is registered on your account details. Would you like to record difference as an income? I'm going to put no, because it's not an income. It is just an opening balance. No. And then that's our account right down here under our investments. If we want to take a look, we would press the arrows, and all the information that is here show that we entered is actually right here. We're going to go back. We did our account groups, our account settings, deleted account groups, and deleted accounts. When I deleted that account group, it's going to show up over here. Remember, I deleted the others, so that's where it is. And you have the option to restore it or to delete it permanently like this. Same thing for deleted accounts, but there aren't any deleted accounts because we didn't delete any. Now we would go check out the transfer expense setting. All that does is it creates an expense when you transfer, let's just say, into your retirement account or insurance account, those types of accounts, because if you don't choose it, it doesn't pick it up as an expense. It just picks it up as a transfer. So I would go in here and I would choose retirement. So when I transfer from my debit account or from my cash into my retirement, it's going to show up on my page as a expense. So we're doing great. We did the account groups settings, deleted accounts, groups, deleted accounts, and the transfer expense settings. Here we can just configure the card expenses display. So by default, it's at the time. So when you enter an expense where you used your credit card, it shows it at the time of the expense. But the other option is to have it as a lump sum on the payment due date of your credit card. I would just leave it as at the time of the expense because it's just better that way. Now we are in the category repeat section, so we're finished with our accounts. We're going to start with the income category settings. When I select that, this is what pops up. It's updated. They added little emojis. Same concept as the account groups. To delete, you would just press on the minus and then the delete button would show up. You can edit over here and you can move it around using these little hamburger menus. I just call them hamburger menus because that's what I know them as. You could turn the subcategory on and you would add new income categories with the plus sign. So if I was to hit the little minus sign on the other again, that little garbage can would show up. I would press it and it would delete that account. If I press on the pencil, you would just change the name. And this is to just move it around. You're going to want to turn subcategories on if you have subcategories. So if I was to create an account, let's do the plus sign here, and I would create an account, for example, let's use business income again. It would show up over here. With the subcategories off, that is just one type of income. But if in my business I have different types of income, I would want to have the subcategories on, because then I could add the other levels of the income under the business income category. So now if I press the plus button, I now have the option over here in the top right corner to create a subcategory. If I press it, you're going to see all the main categories that I have. Let's choose allowance. This warning will pop up and will tell you that all of the subcategories will become subcategories of allowance. I would click yes, and it takes me back to my main page. If I want to add the subcategory, I would just press on allowance. This would pop up. Then I would press on the plus button, and then it will let me choose a subcategory. So if I say child number 1, and I press save, it shows up as a subcategory. Let's do it again. Plus child 2, save. And now I have 2 subcategories under allowance. Now, before I turn on the subcategories, if I would press allowance, I would be able to go in and change the name. That has just moved to the pencil over here, and I could change the category name that way. So if we go back, now we see here, it shows us our category with a little 2 next to it, because there are 2 subcategories under this income category. Now we'll just go back, and we will go to our expense category settings. So I press expense categories. It's pretty much the same concept as the income categories. Here, the subcategories have already been turned on, and for food, we see that we have different subcategories, which can be deleted or edited as you wish. And they gave us for a bunch of different subcategories for the other categories as well. Same concept here. These little minus buttons to delete, these little pencils to edit, and these little hamburger menus to move it around. At the top, the plus button is there. Subcategory is already on. If I want to add something, I would press the plus button, and I would put, let's say, business expenses, save, and it would show up at the bottom here. To delete, I'm going to show you again, minus button. So we're doing other, we're going to press the minus button. The garbage can appears. I press the garbage can and it's gone. So we're just going to go back, and if I go here and I show you the expenses, when you press on it, it shows the same thing as it did in the income because the subcategories are turned on. If I was going to press plus, let's say we have office expense plus. If we go back down here, we see there's one subcategory in the business expenses category. If we go back, I just want to show you that you don't have to turn the subcategories on and off. You don't have to go into each area. There's a spot for you right here to turn it on or off. You would just press it, and then this would pop up letting you turn it off or letting you turn it back on. So next we have our budget settings. This is where you can create your budget. You can create it here. There's another place you could create it from, but this is the first place that you can create it. You just press budget settings, and it tells you where you can see your budget also under the transaction tab and the total page on the main menu. If you want to add a budget, you would just press the plus button. So I press plus, and this is the page that appears. You can choose your category and your amount, and then you would save it. Everything is going to populate down here that you would need. So if I wanted to start with the category food, let's say eating out, and for the month, let's say I put $150 budget. When I press save, now you see it takes you back to the budget setting page, and you see we have our food budget here. Now it's not showing the amount because you would have to press this little arrow down because it is a category and I chose a subcategory to make my budget. And then here it is when I press this button. There it is. Now if you have a lot of subcategories like this and it has this little arrow and you want to see everything drop down, you would just press this over here at the top under budget settings. There's a little arrow also. You would just press that and everything would just drop down at once and everything could just be pulled up at once as well. Let's do another one. We press top right plus. We choose our category. Let's say a business expense and office expense. Our rent for our office, let's say, is $1,200 a month. We press save. It takes us back to our original page and our business expense category is here. Let's say we want to see all of them. We can press this button and they both drop down. As you can see, press it up, they both pop up. You can set a budget for your category. It doesn't have to be for the subcategory. So if I press on food, let's say, but the arrow going that way to the right, it will take me to the budget page and I could set my budget for food in general, which just say is $400 a month. We press save. We see that the food budget is $400 a month. So it's showing in the correct place. And of that $400, $150 is for eating outside. So it's very customizable. You can do a lot with it. So we're going to get out of here. We're going to go back to our main page. And the next one is the repeat settings. So the repeat settings are just so that you don't have to enter the same thing all the time. So if I press on repeat settings, there you can do it in here or you can do it from the transaction page. I'll show you how to do it after when we get there. But this is the page where you can add them quickly as you have them in your mind. You would do it with the plus button, and here is the option. The time of reflection is on the date. You can change that to the first of the month, but I would leave it as on the date, unless it's a transaction, unless it's a bunch of transactions that you want to see at the beginning of every single month. So we press plus, it takes us to this page where it asks us how often we want to repeat this expense. If we say every 2 weeks, let's say is our pay, so we're going to do it for the income, it takes us to this page. This is the page that we're going to use and you're going to see a lot when we're actually entering transactions. So we have our income, expense, or transfer. We have the date, the amount, category, the account, any little notes that you might want to put, and a description. So I'm going to say that it's income, I said, every 2 weeks. Let's say that the income that comes in every 2 weeks is $2,000. The category is our salary, and it's going into just our accounts because I didn't set up an account. The notes is payday, and then I would hit save, and it would show on the income that every 2 weeks I'm getting my salary. Now, what I forgot to do was adjust for the date, so you can just press directly on that transaction and then you can adjust for the date. But it happens to be a Thursday. People usually get paid on Thursdays, so I can leave it or I can change it to any other date. And then hit save, and it shows up here. Let's do another one. If I do plus and I say every month and I use expense because it's going to be for our rent, I will go and change the date and change it for the 1st of April. The amount is $1,200, let's say. Category is household business expense, and it's office expense for the rent for the office, and it comes out of, let's say, our account. And then we do office rent. And we hit save, and then it shows over here also. We're going to do one more. It's going to be the plus sign. We're going to do at the end of the month. So the date is changing accordingly. Before, when I said for the payday it was going to be a Thursday, it actually showed as the 11th of April, but we are the 28th of March right now. So it's showing the 31st Sunday is the end of the month because I chose end of the month. The amount is going to be, let's say, $200. The category, let's say it's going to be education, schooling, and the account that it's going to come out of, we're going to say it's going to come out of cash. And I'm not going to put a note and save. So because we chose transfers to show up as an expense, if you can remember, it is showing as an expense and not just as a transfer. So that's good. These will just automatically populate on our transaction page as they're supposed to. If you wanted to delete them, you would press the little garbage can at the top here, and then these little minuses would show up like they did before, and you can press on one and the garbage can would show up and you can delete it. So now we're really blowing through this. We've finished accounts and categories / repeat. The rest is mostly just regular configuration. So we have currency settings, sub-currency settings, and all these other things that we can change from the default settings. If we go to the currency, mine is set to Canadian. If you press on it, it gives you these options. You can change where you see the dollar sign. You can change the decimal point, and you can just change the currency in general. When you press change, you see that there are many options. Whatever is your currency, you can choose it from here. Mine is Canadian, so I'll keep it like this. You can change the dollar sign from the front to the end. I like it in the front. Decimal point is perfect, but depending on your currency, you might want it to look different. So you can have it that way. And you're going to press save after you're done. When you do the next one, which is sub-currency settings, this is for your secondary currency. So because I'm in Canada, I might go to the States every once in a while. So I might want to have my sub-currency as US dollars. So you're going to press the plus in the corner here because by default there is no sub-currency. You're going to choose, you can look for it, USD, and then it shows up over here with that exchange rate, which is actually on point. We have our usual options to delete, to edit, to move around, but I only have one, so there's not really going to be moving it anywhere. Down here, we have a refresh button, and I'm pretty sure that it's because the actual exchange rate is current and the app is pulling it from the internet. So when you press the refresh button, it will change if the exchange rate has actually changed. So we're going to go back. And next one is the start screen. You can choose it to be the calendar or the daily. So on our main screen, I'm actually going to show you by going to the transaction section over here. On our main screen, when we first open it, it's set as the daily. So this is what's going to look like. So every transaction you enter is going to show up on this page. But you can choose to have it set as the calendar so that when you open the app, this is what you see, and your transactions are displayed by day, but on a calendar view. So by default, it is daily, as I said, but you can choose it. You can change it to calendar if you prefer that. Month start date, the first of every month. That makes sense. You can choose the previous Friday. If you can choose every like fifth day, let's say, if you want to start your month on the 5th or the 15th, if you want to go with your pays, whatever. But if the month starts on a weekend, I have no changes, but you can choose the month to start on the previous Friday or the following Monday. That would be more of like a business kind of calendar, I would say, if you wanted to run your budget in a business manner. But for personal purposes, I think that it's okay just the way it is. The weekly start day, it says Sunday. I prefer Monday, so I'm going to change it to Monday, but you can just change it by tapping here, and all of the options are right there. I'm going to choose Monday. Carry over settings. So this is just so that all of your money and all of your balances carry over to the next month. By default, it's saying that it actually already does that, except for your debit card, which I guess is your main bank account. So I would definitely turn that on so that you're not starting the month off with $0 on your debit card and it's not reflecting reality. The next one is swipe. So when you swipe on the main page, it changes the date. I'm going to put it to change the tab, or you can just set it to none. So when I do this swiping, it's changing the tab that I'm on. But let's just try it with the date. So if it's to change date when I swipe, this is going to pop up. I say yes. It automatically just brings me back to my home page. When I'm swiping, you see that it's still the same page, but the date is changing. So if you look up here in the top left corner, as I'm swiping, the month is changing. Let's go back. I think I'll just, or you can have none. So nothing happens when I swipe, as you can see. So I go back now. Now you can choose your color settings for your income or for your expenses. And that is that the income is blue and the expenses are red. But if you want it the other way, where the income is red and the expenses are blue, then you would check set B. I'm going to leave it as set A. For the time input, this is just for when you're entering your transaction, you have the option of choosing a time. So I'm just going to show you. If we go to the transaction page and we press plus, right over here, there's the time. So if you don't want that there, you could remove it by coming back to the configuration page and selecting time input and selecting none. It's none ascending or none descending. I don't really know what the descending or ascending thing is, but I know that if I just put none, it's just not going to show up. And to show you, we can go back to the transaction page. I press plus, and you can see that there is no time stamp anymore. So we have show description next. I'm going to put, well, it shows you what it is. I'm going to put on, because when you're looking on your main page, as you can see in the image here, it's going to show if there's if you put a memo or not. If you're going to put a description, you might as well have it showing. The next one is the autocomplete, excuse me. The autocomplete is on, which is great because if you're writing something every single time you're entering it, this is just going to keep a memory, like an autocorrect, so that you can choose from a drop-down list when you're writing something, so you don't have to keep writing it over and over and over again. The input order is from amount or from account. So when you first press the plus sign, it by default shows from amount. So you put the amount in and then you choose your account. But if you want it from the account, you could put the account in first and then work in that order. I'm going to show you. In transactions plus, as you can see right now, it's from amount and then the account is down here. But if I were to change it in the configurations to from account, now the account is first as opposed to the amount. I do prefer it this way, so I'm going to leave the setting like this. In this app, you can take notes. There's a section for notes. And on the main page, it used to just, next to the plus sign, show the notes button. By default, this is off. If you want it on, this is what, okay, it shows you. This is what it would look like. I'm going to leave it off because I do not put notes. Almost there. The next one is others. We have a passcode off. I'm going to leave mine off. Alarm setting on. I'm going to turn it off. Quick add, style, and language setting. So for the passcode, if you want to turn the passcode on, you're going to have to choose a passcode. For the alarm setting, I'm going to turn it. It needs permissions. I'm not turning it on. I don't want it on at all because I don't like being notified for anything. So I'm going to, just to be safe, check off all those dates also. Okay, I didn't give it permissions. Quick add, this is just them adding a bar to the top of your drop down. So if you're pulling down your screen, you would see this and you can add some transactions in without having to go into the app first. I'm going to turn that, I'm going to leave it off. The style is the system mode. You can choose dark mode or you can choose light mode. And the language settings, you could choose whatever language you prefer to work in. So we're done with the configurations. How exciting. Now we're going to head on over into the transactions section so we can enter some transactions and see what effect it has on the app. Okay, so now we are back on our main page and this is what it looks like. As I mentioned before, you have your menu here. You have a few options at the top here, and how you know which month you're in is on the top left-hand corner. We were in our more down here on our bottom menu, and then we have our little plus menu. We have our little plus button, sorry, so that we can add transactions. Now, remember in our settings, when I did swipe, we can swipe to different pages. This is the daily, so it shows you the list of your transactions on the day that within the month that you're in. And up here, it gives you a nice little handy little report almost where it shows you your income and how much in expenses you spent. And then you would have your total at the end, but we didn't register any expenses yet. So our total is still $2,000. When I swipe, I get into the calendar mode and it just shows you the dates and it shows you how much you're spending or getting in on each day. So if you're more of a visual person where you like to see it day by day laid out on a calendar, this would be where you would see that. The next thing is monthly. So this is showing us per week. It's showing us per week how much is coming in and going out. So we have the month and then we have each week in that month is comprised of, and any transactions, like the totals would show up over here. As you see, we still have our little $2,000 that we entered as a repeating transaction before. So it's showing up there. As I enter more transactions, you're going to see, we're going to look at these and it'll populate. So I'll show you after. If I swipe again, we're going into the totals tab. This is where our budget is. You can also set your budget over here by clicking budget settings. But here's also where we see our spending. This will fill up as we are spending. And down here, we have a little bit more of the data for the month and our comparisons with last month and et cetera, et cetera. And you could export everything if you want to Excel. If I swipe again, this is a section I was talking about for the notes before, where you have this little plus button and you can just add some notes. The date will be here and you could just add whatever little notes that you need to. You can pin the note and you can change the colors of your note. So if we go back to our daily transaction page, this is where we're going to start entering some expenses and transactions. So let's start. To enter a transaction, you are going to press the plus button or the date. If I press the date, I will get to the transaction page. If I press the plus button, I will also get to the transaction page. The only difference is that when I press the date, I only have for today's date. But if it was another date and I pressed it, like let's just say over here, if I press it, you're going to see that the date is different. If I press the 28th, you'll see it's the 28th. The other one was the 1st of the month. So that would be like a quick way if you have multiple transactions to enter on a specific date, or if you want to go back and enter without changing the date, you can do it that way. We're going to start by entering some income. We did it before, but we're going to do it again. Some income from which account into which account. Let's say it's cash. We did a quick little business job for somebody. So we put business income and let's say they give us $100. Now you could put the description, the note if you want of the whatever business thing that you did or however you came across this income. Let's say it's just taxes. You have the option also of taking a photo or attaching a photo, I should say. When you press the camera button, it either gives you option to access your camera or to access your gallery. So if you have any like receipts or anything that you wanted to add in, or any photos of whatever you bought, if you want to do that, you can add it in that way. But this is all I'm going to do. I'm going to press save and our little income here is showing up. Let's do another one by pressing the plus. We'll do another income account. We'll say at accounts, the category is, let's say we've got a bonus of $5,000. Let's change the date actually. Let's put it as a date in the past on the 20th. Let's say we got a $5,000 bonus. Now there are other options on this page. There's the repeat or installment option and the bookmark option. If I press the bookmark, it's going to show this and it's just telling us how to register it as a bookmark. Yeah, so that's just telling us how to register the bookmark. I have to show it to you separately after because you can't do it here anymore. In the old version, you can just press the button on the actual transaction. And here we have the repeat or the installment. When I press this button, it takes us back to, remember how we set it up originally. So I'm just going to press save and you see it shows up over here. If I wanted to bookmark this transaction, what I would do is I would press on the actual transaction. Don't press over here because it's just going to create another page for you to enter your transaction in. If you want to edit the actual transaction, you have to click on the actual transaction and this page pops up and you see down here we have options where we can copy this transaction, we can bookmark it, or we can delete it. If I press bookmark, it is registered as a bookmark now. So to see the bookmarks that you have, you would press at the top right corner, little star, and it shows the transaction that we bookmarked. Let's add another transaction. Let's make it for the 7th, and we're going to do it as an expense. The account, we're going to come out of the accounts. Let's say we have in the household, we bought some furniture and we spent $500 and we bought a table. Now we can save it and we see that it shows right over here. And it's a table that we bought for $500. Again, let's add an expense, accounts. Let's say we bought a gift. It was someone's birthday. We bought a present for them and we paid $30. And let's say that our friend is in the US. So we're going to put that we spent in US dollars. So when you do that, it shows us that it's US by putting it before the dollar sign. It shows us the conversion and the rate that was used. So I'm just going to press save and it'll take us back to our page. Let's do another one for expenses from the accounts. Let's say social life. And we went to go hang out with our friends and we spent $35 on the 3rd of the month. And we don't want to write any notes. Everything is good. We can press save or we can press continue. And when we press continue, a new page like this will pop up instead of us going back and pressing the plus button again. So continue, another page pops up. This time we're going to do a transfer. So let's transfer from our cash to our accounts. Remember that $100 that we made doing taxes? So as you can see, it populates. I didn't have to type it all up. And it shows, and it is an amount of $100. Now, this is a new button here. It says fees. So sometimes when you're transferring money, you might have fees. So you can press that button and a new line will pop up and you can add whatever fees there were associated with this transfer. For us, there's not going to be any fees, so we're going to put the X and we're going to press save. And so we see we have a few transactions going on here. We have at the top here, it shows our total income, our expenses, and how much money we have left. If we go swipe and we go to the calendar, on the calendar, we can see the different dates that I chose for the transactions. So it's separated on every single date. Monthly, it's showing here. See, it's showing on the first week, we spent $35. In the second week, we spent $500. The third week, there was nothing happening. On the fourth week, we got a little bit of a bonus. That's what it was, a bonus, yes. And then here we got our pay and some extra money from doing some taxes. Swipe again, total. Because we didn't choose any of the actual budgeted expenses, it's not going to show. But down here, it shows us what we spent. And it shows us just a few different things on this page. So what I'm going to do before we move on is I'm going to put a few more expenses and income and things in here just to populate it a little bit more, maybe fix up the budget settings so that everything is populated for us to really see how everything looks. Okay, so now that I'm back, I added a few more expenses. I left the income, added more expenses, and I fleshed out the budget a bit. So when we're seeing our daily page, this is what it looks like. It's showing all of the transactions that I added. When I swipe and I do calendar, we're seeing all of the days that money was spent and money came in on this calendar. So it's pretty spaced out. Monthly, it's showing, again, by week, everything that was spent or everything that came in. And this is what I wanted to show you. The budget, I added some budgeted amounts. And I made sure that it was above what I actually put was spent, just so that you could see how it fills out as you're going along. If you press the down button here to show your food budget and all of the budgets that are fleshed out, of course, it shows you specifically how much was spent in each category. And then at the bottom here, it shows you your expenses. Because this is cash accounts, I didn't use the card. So it's showing you all of the expenses that I entered. So what we're going to look at next is down here. We're going to look at the stats and we're going to take a look at those accounts. Let's start with the accounts section, actually. This is what it looks like. So it gives you basically your totals. If you want to see your totals of your accounts, and it gives you a little net worth sheet up here. Now on the other page, if you see, it looks different. This is just for cash. This is not your net worth. This is just your money that you have. Assets are not being included in here or liabilities. It's just the income what you got in, the expenses, what you spent, and how much of that is left. But when you go into the accounts, up here it's different because it's assets, liabilities, and then your total net worth. So if you're a homeowner and you wanted it to reflect here in your net worth, you would have to create an account group. Maybe it's just called assets or your home. And then you would have to put how much your home is worth. But on the flip side, you would have to put your mortgage in there also. And then so it would show up over here also. So we transferred our cash to our account. So our cash is 0. This is how much our account is at. We don't have anything for cards. And we had entered that we have $1,000 in our retirement fund. At the top, in most sections, we always have some information. Here, because we are in our specific account, it's showing us our deposits, our withdrawals, the total, and then it shows us the balance of our account. We have options here. We have the option to see graphs. This is not the same as this. The stats are not the same. These are the stats for this account. These are the stats for your budget and everything in general. When you press the edit button here, it's just going to let you edit like the general information that we already included at the beginning there for our account. And if we press on the statistics, it's just showing us this, but in graph form. So money in being the blue and money out being the red. And of course, over here, it's the money out because it's red. To toggle back to that page, we just press the list form. So we're seeing it in graph form, the information that we have right now. If we want to see it in list form, we would just press it and we are right back to where we were. If we go back, you can actually use the 3 buttons up here to add, show, or hide any accounts, delete accounts, or modify the order of the accounts instead of having those little hamburger and the pencil and the little minus sign. But here is you can add accounts. So if you press add, this is just going to show up like it showed up when we were adding our original accounts anyways. It's just a quick way to add some accounts without going back to the configurations module. Since we are on that topic, we're going to go back to our transactions, back to the daily, and we're going to press plus, and down here, when we come to, we have to enter our accounts. If we don't have enough accounts, instead of going back to the configurations again to add accounts, you would just hit the pencil and it would take you to the account settings where you can add a new account. And we press back and it'll take us back to our page. The same thing with the categories. If we have to add a category that isn't there, we press the pencil, it takes us back, we press the add, and then we continue on our way. So let's actually do that. If we go to accounts, let's go and add an account. And let's say it's an account, and it is our checking one, no amounts, save. Then we go back and then you see it is right here. We're going to choose that category. Let's add another category. And let's say it is holidays. Save, go back. Checking one, and the category is holidays. And then you could choose your amount. And let's say we're saving for our holidays as a special savings account, and we're going to take a holiday in let me just go back. We're going to take a holiday, but not right now. Let's make it as an installment. So if we press the repeat or installment button, this is what pops up. You have the repeat, which we already did, and the installment. Installments is different. Usually if you have like furniture you buy and you have a certain amount of time that you have to pay it off, you can set it up as an installment. Let's say in 15 months, we are going to go on vacation, and the amount is $5,000. So this is what we're going to do, and it's an installment that's going to be divided over 15 months. When I press save, you're going to see it right over here, holidays, 1 out of 15, and it does the math for you on how much it's going to be calculating as an expense from the checking each month. So there's a few extra things that I wanted to show you before we take a look at our final thing, which is the statistics section. If we go on stats, this is what it looks like. So we're in our current month. We're looking at a monthly view of this. We have our little graph, and then we have all of our percentages for each of our categories. This graph here is pretty interactive. You can press on it and it separates and it tells you how much you spent. You can do that for all of them. When you press on each individual category, it gives you the details with the transaction of what was spent. Go back, let's do another one. Where's the food one? Oh, it's nothing for the food. So that's for the expenses. If you toggle between expenses and income, you press income, it gives you the same thing. You can see how much was for each one. You could press on salary and it gives you your transactions and your totals. You can see it in the monthly view. But if you drop this down, you could see it as weekly, monthly, annual, or a specific period that you choose. If we go to our expenses and we look at it weekly, it's just showing us this because up here on the top left-hand corner, that's how you toggle through the weeks. And then you can get more details, all that was spent in this category, and then specifically what was spent in that category. You can do annually. So this is the entire year, but it was only 1 month anyways. And you can choose a period. When you press period at the top up here, you see that you can choose your dates. Some extra little tips and shortcuts would be that if you click on one of these items, anyone, and you see the date, if you press on the date, again, it takes you back to the page that you can enter your expense or income on, but it already has the category chosen for you. Another thing that you can use up here in the top right-hand corner is the filter button and the magnifying glass. When you press the magnifying glass, you can choose to type in anything and in your search it will appear. If you're using the filter, you can choose by period, account, category, and amounts. Just find a certain amount. This is when you have much more details and many more transactions, of course. If you choose the filter, you can filter by income or expense and by account. If you go to the calendar mode and you press on a day, you can have the option to add from that date, and the date will already be set for you. Okay, so that was the updated tutorial for the Money Manager app. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was helpful. I hope you were able to watch the video maybe on your desktop or your laptop and set it up on your phone as I went through all the steps. If you like this kind of content, again, please subscribe, like, share the video, and leave a comment for any other apps that you want to see tutorials on. Thank you very much, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye.